How you doing, everyone? It's Kevin. I'm back with another video. Today we're going to be working on the Kubota BX 1500, and I think our little crane in our shop is going to help us out on this. So what we're going to do is, I'm done for the winter. We're not going to be using the mower no more. And one thing about mowers is a lot of people don't want to clean their decks. And every year when you get ready to put your mower away for the season, you really should clean your deck, paint it up, grease it, and have it ready. You know, sharpen your blades or replace the blades if you have to, just to make sure it's ready for the next season. So I'm thinking I'm going to use this crane because, you know, it's a little bit hard getting this deck. It's not a drive over deck. So I'm going to see if this crane will lift the front of the mower, and then I'll be able to slide my mower deck right out from underneath of it, right out through the front, which will make it a lot easier than having to slide it out the side. So let me get to unhooking the deck, and then we'll see if this thing will lift it up. Okay, these decks are fairly easy to come off. You have one little pin right here. You take that pin out. Back there, about where my fingertip is, there's two pins, one on each side, plus the dry shaft. Pretty simple. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can get this thing lifted up, because the deck is laying right on the ground now. Okay, so we're going to just center this thing about over the front, and it has a big plate here I could hook to, so that's where we're going to hook it, and we're going to see if it'll lift the front of this up, just so I can pull the deck out. Like I said, that makes it easier. I don't have a lot of room on either side in this shop. It's only 12 feet wide, so it does make it a little bit tight to get it on and off without something like this, if it works. She got some pressure on her. Let's give it a try and see what happens. I think that's going to work just fine. So now that we have the mower up in the air, I can just grab the deck and pull it straight out from underneath of the mower. Oh, that was so much easier than having to slide this big deck through the side. So now what I want to do now is I want to get this mower back down on the ground, because we don't want it up in the air. It's not safe up there, so we're not going to leave it up there. So let's get it back down on the ground. Okay, so now that we're not going to be using the mower anymore this year, we're going to go ahead and take this back out and put it in the tractor shed, and then we'll bring the deck and put it in the tractor shed later, because what we want to do is we want to work on this deck. We want to get it ready for next spring. So we're going to get rid of this, get it out of the way. We don't have room for it, so we need to get it out of here. Okay, we're going to get ready to lift this deck up, and we're going to set it on the sawhorses where it's going to make it a little bit easier for us to work on. We're going to just take off what we don't need, and we'll be lifting it by this piece here. Now, I pulled the dry shaft off. We'll grease that dry shaft and everything right before we put it back together, but right now we don't want it falling on the ground, so we took it off. We'll take this off, and I think that's about all we'll need right now. So we'll get us a a chain or a strap, and we'll get this hooked up and see if we can lift it up and put it on top of the sawhorses. Okay, even though we're not lifting the whole lawnmower up, we're just lifting the deck, we still got to stay clear of this thing because it's very heavy. And this thing can break your leg, it could do anything. So we're going to go ahead and lower the winch down and start lifting it up, and we'll just see how it lifts and how it wants to move around, and then we'll see if we can get it up on the sawhorses. So we have our chain in there, and this is not, I mean, it's not the best place to put it, but I think it's going to work fine. So we're going to go ahead and start lifting it up. It seems like it's going to hold it fairly nice. So we're going to get it up in the air a little bit. Now it's sitting there pretty good. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and slide the sawhorses underneath of it. So we don't, like I said, we don't want this thing to fall. If it falls, it could break something or break us. So we're going to take most of the pressure off of it by letting it down onto the sawhorses. Okay, so I think the sawhorses got most of the pressure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start cleaning my deck, getting all the dirt and stuff off of the other side. I'll show you over here. This is the stuff that causes rust and our deck to rot out, which we don't want to do. We don't want our deck rotting out. These are not cheap. So as you see on this side, we have all of this stuff here that holds moisture, and when it gets wet, it stays wet for a long time. So what we want to do is we want to get all this cleaned off out of there. And we'll be taking the two plates off here. There's one here and one over there. And we'll just get this dusted up really good. We don't really have to do much besides get all this debris out of here. I'm going to try to pull this deck this way a little bit, so it wants to fall this direction instead of that direction. We're going to put a little safety chain on here just in case it slips out a little bit. So I think that looks pretty good. Now we can work on this side better. We got about 3 bolts here, 3 bolts over there. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take these bolts off. And this, I'm only taking this off so it gives me access underneath this, so we know that there's nothing laying underneath of it. You want to make sure these bolts work out okay for you, because, you know, if you ever have to change a belt, you're going to have to take these bolts off anyhow. So what we'll do is we'll take them off and we'll clean underneath of there, and then we'll anti-seize each one of these bolts. So we know the next time we go to take them off, they're going to come off easy. Okay, that's what we want to get to, this mess right in here. So we'll take our bolts, put them around the back side here. Make sure we don't lose anything. And we gotta get this cleaned up. So I'm just gonna take, I have maybe an old putty knife and some type of little broom. And it's not like you have to do a perfect job on it. The main thing is to get all of this out of here. We'll use our putty knife to get down in the cracks. And then we'll take the air compressor and we'll blow out any other debris that we can't get with the broom and the putty knife. So we have that side looking fairly good, not too bad. So we're going to go ahead and take this pan off too, because we want underneath the here. Move this pan to the back side where it's clean. So we're going to continue sweeping this up, making sure all of this off of here. I'll grab me a different broom. Any type of little broom you could find will work. You know, you just want to get all the stuff off of it. Okay, now that we got the biggest part of it off there, I have the air gun. And what we're going to do is we're going to finish cleaning it up with the air gun, blowing all the debris off. Okay, we have the majority of all the dirt that we need to get off of this thing that may end up causing an issue in the future gone. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a rag and each one of the grease fittings, we're going to clean them off because we're going to get ready to go ahead and grease these spindles. Everything on this thing is going to get grease. Anywhere there's a grease fitting, we're going to wipe the fitting down and we're going to put grease in it. This is something you should be doing periodically through the summer months while you're using your deck. Keep grease in this thing. It's going to save you in the long run by greasing it. A lot of people won't grease it. They'll just leave it go until something breaks, and then it costs you big money. And that's something we want to avoid doing, spending big money. So this deck has three spindles actually. We're going to be greasing this spindle, this one over here, and this one up here. On the side it has another fitting back here. Let me show you this. We have a grease fitting right here, and then this tensioning pulley has a grease fitting here and one right here, right there. So we have one here, one there, and one there. We're going to get them greased. Then we're going to grease our drive shaft one, the one right here. So we got a total of, looks to be about 6 fittings right here. We're going to go ahead and get them greased. Now, when you're doing this, it's good thing to have maybe a rag nearby, something you can wipe your fingers off with, or you can use rubber gloves. A lot of people like to use rubber gloves. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pump. I'm not going to like over pump. I'm about 8 pumps in there, 6 or 8 pumps, just to make sure it's got grease in it. Just a few, and if you can see it starting to ooze out the sides of your, like this on this knuckle right here, when I see it oozing out the sides, I'll stop. We don't have to put that much. Sometimes it's good to have somebody that can pump it while you're holding it on your fitting, but if you don't, I'm sure you can make it. You can get it. If it's a little bit tight, just do it slow and wait for it to come out. Now this one here was really tight. It only needed 1 pump, but I can see it coming out on the top and on the bottom, so that's a good thing. Okay, all of our fittings are now greased and this part is finished. So since we have this done, we're not going to do anything else to this besides put the covers on. We'll get the covers put on and then we're going to flip it over and we're going to start doing our blades. Okay, now that we're getting ready to put our covers back on, we're going to take each one of our bolts and we're going to put some anti-seize on this. Now this is not a grease, this is anti-seize. So it doesn't act as a grease. What it's going to do is when it's time to take these back off, we had a little bit of a hard time getting them off. Well, now we will not have a hard time. So we put our anti-seize on it and we go ahead and get it started. And we'll do that with each one of these. A little bit of anti-seize on it. Get it started. You'll thank yourself in the future by putting this anti-seize on there. Especially these bolts actually go all the way through the deck. So the moisture that's underneath this deck and all the water and grass and stuff will make the tip of that rust. And hopefully this will keep it from rusting so much maybe, and give it just a little bit easier coming out. So we'll do all 6 of these 3 here and the 3 on the other side, and we're going to get them tightened up. And like I said, the upper side of this deck will be done. Alright, this side of our deck is now finished. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift it up now, and we're going to lean it over to the other side so we can work on the underneath side. So we got it turned around now that we can work on the deck, the underneath. We're going to be pulling the blades off of it and sharpening them and cleaning any debris that's underneath of this, like old grass clippings, anything that rust, anything that will come off, we're going to scrape it off. The underneath of my deck is actually fairly clean because I have cleaned it once during the summer. And what I done, I think I may have coated it with some paint, but a lot of times what I'll do is coat it with motor oil. Use motor oil, and that's probably what we're going to do this time. So we're going to go ahead and get the blades off of this guy and get to sharpening them up, and then we'll clean the underneath this bit. Okay, we're going to be using the impact to pull these blades off so we can get them sharpened. And if you notice, these have anti-seize on them. That lets you know I've already taken these off, and you can see how easy it was for that to come out. Much easier to take these out when you put anti-seize on them. Okay, all the blades are off. Get them sharpened up. Get our deck clean. This almost done. Alright, I know a lot of you guys out there are going to say, Kevin, I don't have a 2x72 inch grinder to sharpen these blades. Well, it doesn't have to be done on this. It could be done on this. It could be done on a grinder, just a benchtop grinder. You can sharpen these even with a 4-inch grinder. You don't have to have these tools to do this sharpening, but I'm going to use this tool because it's easy and I have it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to sharpen these blades. And what you want to do when you're sharpening a blade is just follow the angle that's already there. Once you get that set in your hand, that's what you're going to follow and sharpen your blade. It's pretty simple. Okay, we have our blades all nice and sharp, just the way we want them. Now, if you don't want to do the sharpening, you can always just buy new blades. That's totally up to you. But I like to get as much use as I can out of mine, so I sharpen them. Okay, I wanted to show you guys this. You remember the bolt that we put on the upper side, the two guards that kind of go over the pulleys? As you can see, the anti-seize on this one here, and anti-seize, that's what I meant by them coming through the bottom of the deck. And if you don't keep these anti-seized, you know, if it's been there a long time, these are going to get corroded real bad. And then when you pull them threads, bolts out of there, those threads may screw up the inside threads on there, or you might break the bolt trying to get it off. So do the anti-seize, and that does seem to help me a good bit. We're getting very close to being done with this. Right now I have a putty knife and a couple of different wire brushes here. I'm going to use the putty knife to scrape any of the big stuff off underneath of here. We're going to get it as clean as we possibly can, and then when we get all that off, we'll take our wire brush and we're going to wire brush this down and try to get all the loose rust or grass clippings or whatever is underneath this. We want to get it as clean as we can. It don't have to be exactly perfect, but we want it as clean as we can get it. So I'm going to work on this, and then when I get this done, I'll show you what my next step's going to be. Alright, my deck is fairly clean. I think it looks pretty good. I tried to get all the big rust flakes off of it, and anything big that I can get off I did, and then wire brushed it. Now I have a mixture here of used motor oil and diesel fuel. So the only thing I'm going to do with this right now is we're going to take this and we're going to start brushing. It's going to be a little bit of a messy job, but this is going to soak down in them cracks where there might be rust. It's going to soak down in there, and it's going to help preserve your deck. So we're just going to go ahead and coat the underneath of this really good. It's almost like painting it, but this is a little bit thinner, so it's going to get down in them rust cracks. If you could do this several times a year, you'd probably save your deck a lot of time. You know, it's not going to rust that easy when you're coated with motor oil and diesel fuel. Okay, we're going to go ahead. We have our deck all coated with the motor oil and diesel fuel. We're going to go ahead and anti-seize all of our bolts for our blades. And we're going to go ahead and start putting the blades on this guy, because we're pretty much done here. We want to do the anti-seize. Don't forget, do the anti-seize. It's going to save you a lot of trouble in the future. You're not going to have that hard of a time getting these bolts back off if you anti-seize them. It's going to do just what it says. It's going to keep them from seizing up. Make sure you put your blade on right. And I say this because I have actually put my blades on upside down. So what you want is you want the flat part of your blade facing down. And then go ahead and put all your blades on and tighten them down. Usually when I'm putting blades on, what I'll do is I'll start my bolt and screw it as far as I possibly can with my fingers, because this is a bolt you definitely don't want to get cross-threaded. It costs you a few bucks to fix that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and tighten down my bolts. I'm going to use the impact, but I'm not going to set. I'm going to set it on the lowest setting to tighten these. And that's all I'm going to do right there. They are done. This deck is done and ready to be stored for the winter. We have one more little thing to do to the dry shaft. We got to finish greasing up the rest of the dry shaft, but after that I think we are done. So I'm going to get this thing flipped over so we can work on that dry shaft real quick. Now this is the other side. This is the other piece of our dry shaft. It has a grease fitting inside here. We want to make sure we grease it. And we're going to grease the inside of these gears, which this is where your dry shaft hooks to your rear end. It would be your PTO. And we're going to grease this. So I'm going to go ahead and get this greased. And then we're going to stick it on here. Because we don't want to lose this stuff. When it comes springtime, we want to make sure we got this at hand. We're going to need it. And what I've done is I just greased it until I see the grease coming all the way around the fitting. You can see that's really good and greased. So we'll grease the inside of this good and grease the inside of this. And then we're going to tie this to the machine. We greased our shaft here real good. Everything's greased. We tied a string around it. And that's to keep it from sliding out and us losing it in the winter months. So this deck is officially finished. This is ready for next year, ready to go. And we won't have to sit there and worry about that deck not running or rusting a hole through it. Okay, that's how I store the lawnmower deck for the winter. I try not to lay it flush on the ground. That way it's not getting all that moisture up in it. Even though underneath this pad here we put plastic down. Don't get a lot of moisture, but we got moisture coming in. You can see we got the backhoe back in there and we got the mower deck right there. So it'll be good for next year. I would like to tell everyone thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment if you'd like. Till next time.